What's up, kids? We are talking about some trigonometry today and a pretty easy concept called coterminal angles. But if you'd never heard the term before, it could be a little confusing. So co meaning share and terminal. So two angles that, or two or more angles that share a terminal side. We talk about angles in standard form having an initial side and a terminal side. That's a fancy way of saying angles that put you in the same position. But it's very easy. But here's the first example, and we'll draw a diagram just so you can visualize and get that geometry sense along with it. But once you do this, you realize you really don't need a drawing for it. So if I were talking about in standard position, 140 degrees, starting here from the right side of the x-axis and going counterclockwise because it's a positive angle, will put you in quadrant 2. So somewhere right around there, about 40 degrees shy of the x-axis, right? That's 140 degrees. So a coterminal angle would be another angle that would put you in the same position, basically, another angle besides 140. And one way is to just think about this. You're not limited to 360 degrees. Another way to get right here is to go right around the circle again. And so I could just add 360 degrees, and that will put you in the same position. So 140 plus 360 is actually going to give you 500 degrees. That's one example of a positive angle that's coterminal with 540. And if I want a second angle that's positive and coterminal, I'll just add 360 to that. So adding 360 to that, and that is just the equivalent of, okay, I go 140, add 360, add 360 again. You keep ending up at the same spot, and you could do that all day. So that will give you 860 degrees. So there's two positive angles that are coterminal, and I could keep adding 360 as many times as the question wanted me to. But I think we get the idea. Now, if you want a negative angle that's coterminal, well, it's very much the same idea, that I'll just go 360 degrees, but back in the other direction. So I'll subtract 360 from the original given angle. So that's really all coterminal angles are. Add or subtract 360 if you're in degrees. So 140 minus 360, that is going to give you negative 220. Right? And that would be the same as if you had just started here and I said go negative 220 degrees. There's negative 180, and then going 40 degrees past that. And so that's the same thing. And if you want to find another negative, well, we just subtract 360 again. So negative 220, subtract 360, go around the circle as many times as you want, so that it will give you negative 580. Okay, so that's the big thing with finding coterminal angles. If you're in degrees, add or subtract 360 degrees as many times as you want. Easy stuff, right? So what about if we're in radians? Well, one thing you could do, if you are still super comfortable with degrees and not so comfortable with radians, is you could convert it to degrees and then answer in degrees. But usually you want to answer in the units given. So I think a question like this, you would be expected to answer in radians. So if you do it in degrees, you got to convert to degrees, figure out your answers, then convert all of those back to radians. And that's really inefficient, and radians are kind of where you're headed if you continue on in pre-calc or calculus. So let's try to do this all in radians, and it's super easy. So a little kind of review of these key radian values. This is 0 radians. This is 180 degrees, or pi. 90 degrees is half of 180, so half of pi. Every quadrant is 1.5. So down here, 270 is 1.5 pi, or 3 pi over 2. And of course, 2 pi is coterminal with 0, right? Going 360 is the same as going 0. You're right there at the beginning. So 9 pi over 7, just for a little practice, what quadrant would that be in? That's 1 and 2/7. So 1 is more than 1 and less than 1.5. Less than 1.5. 1 and 2/7 is between here and there. So that would put you somewhere in quadrant 3. 1 and 2/7 pi. We'll put you right about there for a little visualization. And very much the same idea for the others, that if I want to end in the same spot and be coterminal, I want to add 360 degrees or subtract 360 degrees as many times as I want, right? So if we're in degrees, add or subtract 360 degrees. But if you're in radians, that means adding or subtracting 2 pi. And so that's really a very easy concept to get the hang of. So 9 pi over 7, we're going to start with this, and we're going to add 2 pi to it. That'll give me a positive coterminal angle. And the only thing you got to do is make a common denominator. So this is 9 pi over 7 plus, you want to make that 2 pi, make it have a denominator 7, so you need to multiply by 7, so that'll be 14 pi over 7. And then you get 23 pi over 7. There's one positive coterminal angle. And then you keep adding that 2 pi, but you already have it in denominators of 7, so just keep taking that 23 pi over 7 and add another 14 pi over 7 to it. And so that's going to give you another 37 pi over 7. And there you go, there's 2, and you could keep going as many times as you want. You want to go the negative, well, I'm going to subtract 2 pi, which means I'm going to subtract that same 14 pi over 7. And so you got your denominator 7, and see, it's really easier than degrees even, as long as you're comfortable with fractions. So you're going to get negative 5 pi over 7. And just to stop and hit the pause button, that would be the same as if you started from here and just went negative 5/7. Notice that would be less than going negative pi, right? Negative 5/7 would be 2/7 short of being that full pi. And that's that same 2/7 that you went past pi, right? 9/7 was 1 and 2/7. So negative 5/7, you want another, I'll subtract 2 pi again, so subtract another 14 pi over 7, and you get negative 19 pi over 7. And like Captain America said, I could do this all day. So as many times as you want, very easy, right? So let me know if you got any questions, if I can clear anything up. But otherwise, hang in there, keep working hard, and don't reject radians. Love them. They're the best. Take it easy, kids.